Wow. 2 years ago, George, 2 years ago, I launched a podcast called Ask Me How I Know Multifamily Stories of Struggles to Success. And it was like this super long SEO rich title. And 2 years ago, you were my very first guest.
Exciting.
What the heck? Here we are.
So what's happened since?
2 years later, and let's talk about that first episode. And I think we're going to throw in some little clips from that as we go through.
Great.
Yeah. What do you remember from that?
I remember you did not hold back with questions. It was pretty deep and good questions, which right off the bat I knew you were going to be good with the podcast because, like I said, you asked very deep questions, and we were both in completely different places as far as growth and our companies. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's cool looking back now where we were there.
It is insane. Okay, I'm going to be honest,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to ask a question, but I'm going to just speak honesty. I remember as a host thinking like, oh my goodness, I need more words. Like, George, we spoke because we had met at Broadcliffe's conference, and we had lots of conversation, and I'm like, oh, he's going to make a fantastic guest. And then, but that was your first podcast and mine first as a host, and I asked you a question, you'd be like, very deliberate, and I'm like, oh crud, that's not much. I'm not going to fill my time. Oh no, what am I going to do? And yet, I have watched you grow and evolve over the last 2 years into, a complete thought leader, influencer, not just within our space, our investment community, but just in general. So I'd love to know, and I'm sure that
Is it too loud, probably?
we're at this hotel, the Gaylord. It's amazing, and this whole group just passed by. And 2 years ago, when we have been able to feel that and actually just pause and recollect our thoughts and resume,
Probably not.
I'm thinking we've really grown a lot. So one of the questions I was going to ask before that happened was, wow, you are this thought leader now, you are this powerful influence, and you're accomplishing so much with Elevate. So what has happened with you as a human? What growth and development have you done?
No, there go the questions.
Yes, I'm a curious person.
Naturally, I still am very short on words. It's just naturally who I am, but that has grown as the years have gone by, and I've really put myself out there. We're at an event right now where I spoke on stage. That wouldn't have happened.
In front of hundreds of people.
Right. That would have not happened 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So it's really just put myself out there, and that's what's helped with the growth. Like you said, the platform, and it's crazy. It's coming here and having people come up to me and telling me that I've motivated them and I've been an inspiration. Definitely didn't know that was going to come with what I was doing back then, and it's a great feeling.
Okay, that's really an interesting point, like one of those hallmark moments, right? Because when we are really trying to do something for ourselves, it comes out, and when we're doing something for authenticity or because it's a pursuit of like a passion, then the world responds differently to us. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing is that instead of you trying to be like, hey, look at me, I'm a thought leader, come, I know it all. You weren't doing like Gary Vee type stuff. You were just being you, and it naturally was a magnet.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what you just described. I can't do like that. There's no way I can be that person. So all I was doing was documenting my growth and what I was doing with the business, and like you said, really natural. A lot of live videos while I'm at the properties, and sure, things going wrong and people coming by and saying things, but people like that natural feel, like, hey, he's really doing this on the ground, doing it.
Right. Okay, so here's a chatter I hear in most people, right? And maybe what you and I overcame, this noise in our head that says, oh my gosh, I can't be behind I can't be in a video. Oh my goodness, I don't speak well. Oh my goodness, I won't have enough to, like, you're hearing what I'm saying, like all the excuses that are these barriers people put. My listeners, many of them want the courage to take that next step, and yet they're still holding back. So what would you say to them?
So I think there's a couple things there. So one, and I see this all the time, is overthinking things and thinking that everything has to be perfect. And that used to be me. I mean, I'm an engineer and I like things to line up properly, but what I learned from social media and just building the platform is something is better than nothing. And if you're gonna keep overthinking it and tweaking things, and you're never gonna get anything out there. So I would say, one, just start doing it. You know, take action, do it. It doesn't have to be perfect.
I love it. Well, and when we were talking earlier in the corridor and decided, oh my gosh, we should just be recording this. You know, when we were having that conversation, we had that realization that where would we be 2 years ago? And you had already started your progression, but for the podcast itself, you know, in our moment, in looking at that time capsule, we were talking about what would have happened if we didn't actually take that step. Like if I hadn't said, it's not perfect, I can't do it, I can't release it, it wasn't perfect. And I mean, and you know, you were still growing as a guest and everything. And so, but I mean, dang, you're on all these podcasts and you're all over the place and you're articulate and you're able to express yourself so clearly and with ease now. 80%, would you agree 80% is done? Like 80% get going?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look,
wait, you just said 100%. No, I'm kidding.
The 80% is doing 100%.
Yeah,
yes.
I know.
Yeah, like you can figure the rest out as you go. But if you never take that step forward, I mean, it's not gonna happen. You figured, you know, you made the decision of not even trying.
Right. And it's not ever going to be perfect. So what are some of those other challenges that you've faced, that you've overcome, that you would say that are common or maybe or unique to you? Like,
you know, I think, like you mentioned before, the mindset part of it. You know, you can do it. You know, maybe naturally you're not very outspoken and you know, you don't get nervous when you get on stage, but you can still do it. You gotta give yourself a little more effort. You know, you're gonna be like an event like we're at now, where I spoke on stage and I'm networking all day. It takes a lot for me to do that, but I still do it.
Be scared, do it anyway. I've been saying a lot recently, courage is rewarded.
Yep.
And everything we want is right there at that cusp. And if we're in our comfort zone, and Joe Fairless said that in his keynote today, I mean, if you're in your comfort zone, I think that's not, is that living?
Yeah, you're not growing.
Yeah,
you're not growing in the comfort zone. Took that from Tony Robbins, and ever since then, I mean, I literally live in my uncomfortable zone, like, all the time.
I can high five you because this is a live recording and I'm excited about that, but exactly, it's like if you're living in your comfort zone, you're completely missing out on the opportunity to really live fully.
Yeah,
it's extraordinary. Okay, let's wrap up. We're going to wrap this up. So as you're looking back over the last couple of years, I mean, major highlights or challenges that you've had that you're so proud you overcame?
I mean, honestly, doing podcasts, like that was the first step. You know, I knew the first step wasn't going to be speaking on stage. That was going to be a bit too much for me. So it was speaking on podcast, and then one after another, you know, I just started lining them all up. Then first thing was actually stepping on the stage for the first time, and
what was that like? Oh my gosh, right?
Nervous wreck. I mean, you know, I was dying inside, but I quickly learned that, look, I know what I'm speaking about. I know this stuff. And at that point, it became a lot easier. Now, if you ask me to get on stage and start talking about something completely different that's maybe not multifamily real estate,
right,
probably not gonna do so good. But if I know the stuff,
yeah, and that's a really good point. That, you know, when we do know something, a lot of times people question and doubt, like, well, I don't know as much, like, well, I don't know development as well as George does, so like, I can't speak on it. Well, we can speak to what we do know.
Correct.
And having confidence to speak to what we do know is powerful. And then you can be the expert over there. I mean, we can all be the expert within our bandwidth, and there isn't any single expert, because for anyone, there is always somebody else above you. And if you think you're at top, the moment you think you're at top, boom, someone else is going to come crash your party.
No, I love that. I love that. You know, talk about what you know, right? Whether, depending on how much that is, doesn't really matter. Just don't speak outside of your knowledge.
Yeah. Goodness, I cannot believe how far you and I have come in the last 2 years, and it's so exciting to see that. And I want to encourage everyone that is listening or watching on YouTube, I just want to encourage you that, you know, don't be afraid to take that step, because at that moment you take the step, we would not be here right now if we hadn't taken those uncomfortable steps every single time. And it's like habit stacking, it's the same thing, and it leads to where you want to go.
Yeah.
What final, like, any final thoughts you would like to share?
Final thoughts?
Or questions, anything.
No, I mean, I just think it's awesome, you know. We hadn't planned this, right? It just, we hadn't seen each other for a long time, and then we thought back about the podcast and just how far we've come. So, you know, a lot, if you take the action and you're stepping forward, there's a lot you can do. That's kind of what I want to put out there. More than you probably think you can.
That's right. Everyone has so much more potential inside of them, and it's untapped. So just live in that discomfort and tap into that potential every single day. Well, George, where can people reach you? Because they're inspired, and I want them to connect with you.
Yeah, so definitely on social media. You know, if they search my name, they'll find me there. And then also our website, elevatecig.com. All our contact information's there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you go and connect up with George. And you know what? You can go listen to the full first episode of Ask Me How I Know if you dare. No, it'll be absolutely entertaining, and that will actually be proof of concept that when you are willing to continually live in that cusp of discomfort, you will literally see where it leads.